John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. In this episode, we're going to actually compare two vacuum blenders. Now, I know a lot of you guys are waiting for other vacuum blender comparisons, and that's going to be in a little bit once I get my Kuvings vacuum blender back. I don't know, maybe sometime later this year. I had to send it back in for warranty service, and I haven't gotten a replacement. Otherwise, I'd be filming a Kuvings vacuum blender versus Dynapro vacuum blender, since I know that's a video most of you guys actually want. Any case, what I'm be doing today is I'm going to be doing a vacuum blender comparison test. And we're going to be comparing the Tribest Dynapro vacuum blender. This is a very blender that actually I use in my kitchen on a daily basis at present time, and that's subject to change when I get a new one to test, to make my different soups and juices, smoothies, salad dressings, blended salads, all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's been working great, actually. And we're going to compare that against the Tribest Personal Glass Vacuum Blender, right? I have individual videos on this unit as well as that unit. I will put links down below if you want to know more about each of the specific units. They each have their own set of pros and cons. And in this episode, I hope to compare these two blenders side by side so you guys can see the differences not only in the specifications but also when I actually get into blending two different things so you guys can see the differences that they produce. Now, the first thing I want to say is that vacuum blenders are unlike any other blender out there, right? I mean, in the sense that the reason why vacuum blenders, in my opinion, are superior is because before you blend in a vacuum blender, you put the carafe under vacuum. So all the food that's in there is now in an oxygen-deprived environment. You know, it's under vacuum, so all the excess oxygen is removed. So now when you're blending and the blender blades are running, you know, at 30,000 RPMs in the case of the Dynapro, right? The blades are hitting the food, it's breaking open the cell walls. Now it's, you know, exposing those valuable and delicate phytonutrients and antioxidants to the air. And in a standard blender that's not under vacuum, air is being bombarded, so your food is literally oxidizing and you're losing nutrition. You could be losing the very nutrients that your body needs to heal from a disease if you're fighting a disease, or those very nutrients that your body could use so that you could become healthier. You could have better performance, have better mental capacity, right? There's so many different discovered and yet to be discovered nutrients, and my personal belief, especially based on some of the testing I've seen, is that the vacuum blender is a superior method of blending. So you can't just simply compare like, John, how does that Dynapro compare to a Vitamix or a Blendtec? And at present time, Vitamix or Blendtec do not have vacuum blenders. And so for me, just the sheer fact that they don't have vacuum blenders, I would pick the Dynapro because it is a vacuum blender, right? That being said, of course, blending performance is going to vary differently depending on the blender. But to me, the vacuum feature is probably one of the most important features that I actually want to have. I would take a lesser, performing, cheap imported Chinese vacuum blender before I even took like a Vitamix to use myself. Even though the Vitamix is a better blender, maybe could blend to a finer consistency, the problem is it's oxidizing and you're going to lose some of the more important, in my opinion, phytonutrients. So for example, when they tested blueberries and blended blueberries in a vacuum blender versus a non-vacuum blender, they had 2.5 times more of a polyphenol antioxidant in the vacuum blended smoothie. And the polyphenols are, in my opinion, one of the most beneficial parts of the blueberries. As well as, you know, if you save your blended mixtures to drink for later, right? If you've ever made a smoothie in a standard blender, you drink it out of bananas, it tastes alright. You let it sit for a couple hours and you go back to drink it later, it tastes horrible. That's because the food continues to oxidize after you blended it because you already lost the antioxidants that's supposed to be there to protect the food. And when you blend it in a vacuum, right, the storage capacity is amazing. So you could store like that same drink overnight and it's going to taste very little taste change. That being said, once you blend something in the vacuum blender, I do also encourage you guys to store your creations in a vacuum blender. And with this vacuum pump, it actually makes it quite easy by buying just simply a food saver mason jar top adapter lid, so you could pull a vacuum on a mason jar. And that's how I save all my juices, all my smoothies, even salads and soups overnight when I'm going to need to eat them the next day is under vacuum and mason jars using this actually very pump that makes it super simple. And I'll have an upcoming video on that because I don't have actually showing you guys how to do that specifically. Another reason why I like the vacuum blending is when you're vacuum blending fats. So if you're blending oils, which I don't like to blend, or avocados, or nuts, or something like coconut meat or coconut milk, when you blend it in a vacuum, it kind of fluffs it up. It acts a little bit differently. So it actually makes a more fluffy flavor. So like if you made like a avocado, cacao, young coconut meat, like pudding in a Vitamix, it's really thick and dense. But if you do that same recipe in the Dynapro, it makes it light and fluffy. And I have a video, if I remember, I'll put a link down below. And it's so amazing the texture differences, and it's just so much lighter and airier when done in a vacuum blender. Plus, just to know that the texture is better, but also you're preserving more nutrients. So I'm 100% sold at this time on the vacuum blending technology. And no matter what, you should have a vacuum blender instead of a standard conventional blender that does not blend under vacuum, that just blends under ambient air, because in my opinion you are losing a good portion of some of the more valuable phytonutrients. That being said, things like minerals are probably not going to be affected in a vacuum versus non-vacuum blender, but you know, the more important nutrients are. Anyways, enough about the vacuum blenders and all this kind of stuff. I want to actually get into the comparison between these two units here. These units have a lot of similarities, but they also have a lot of differences. The first similarity is that they're actually both made by Tribest. You know, they've been in business for over 25, maybe even 30 years now, and their motto is making healthy living easy. And I like that they're one of the first companies, actually probably one of the first companies, or maybe even the first company in the US to release a vacuum blender. And so I like this about Tribest, that they're always trying to come out with good, innovative products that'll solve your problems so that you guys could eat more fruits and vegetables. And that's one of the most important things, in my opinion, you guys could do to positively impact your health. Whether that's through juicing them, which Tribest makes their Green Star Pro Juicer, which actually I like, the Slow Star, the Solo Star 4, or their Dynapro vacuum blenders, or their Sedona Express dehydrator, the dehydrator I like. You know, they have a lot of tools for you guys to use. So yeah, both made by Tribest. And the other thing about these machines, unlike a lot of vacuum blenders appearing now in the market, you know, that are actually being imported from China. Not to say that things from China are bad, but you know, sometimes you got to pay attention. Some things from China could be good, but a lot of things may not be so good because, I mean, in my opinion, they kind of cut corners. But both these machines, anyways, are made in Korea. And actually, I've been to the very factory where these are made and made a video there, actually, when they were making the juicers. So that's some of the commonalities. The other commonality is that both these machines are blenders. They both blend, right? And you know, they'll basically make smoothies, make soups. You know, one of them may make nut butters, one of them may not. But you know, that's where some of the similarities end. Now I want to get into some of the differences, right? Some of the differences are, number one, I mean, the Dynapro is a commercial certified vacuum blender. This is the only vacuum commercial certified blender in existence at this time that I'm aware of. This has the full ETL sanitation certification, which is equivalent to the NSF certification, which means you could use this in a juice bar, you could use this in a restaurant, you could use this to process foods and food service, right? And because it meets all the health code requirements. Plus it is built to heavy duty standards, has a nice wide base so it's not going to tip over like some other blenders. Has a nice light and easy carafe to pick up. Plus, you're going to get the benefits of vacuum blending. I went to a farmer's market not too long ago where they're blending, you know, huge smoothies for people to go. And, you know, that's great that they're making smoothies for people to go, but then most people aren't going to drink those smoothies for a couple days, and then the smoothies start tasting really nasty. So I think any place that sells smoothies to go, especially, should have a vacuum blender because it's going to differentiate you and your company. Number one. Number two, you're going to provide better tasting smoothies, especially after a couple days if people don't drink it immediately. It's going to taste better. And number three, like, the machine is not really any more than buying a standard commercial blender you would pay for otherwise. So there's a lot of benefits to it. So yeah, this is fully commercial certified. Over on this side, this is definitely a home unit. Don't try to use this in any kind of commercial kitchen. It'll probably blow out in the first day because it is you know, a lower volume personal size blender. So what makes this a commercial model and what makes this a home model is basically the motor power. So this has a 2.5 horsepower motor. It's a super strong and durable commercial quality motor with 1,865 watts. Over on this side, this is actually a scant 2/3 of a horsepower. So that's not even 1 horsepower. That's like, you know, it's more than a half, but it's really not as powerful. So I mean, if you're expecting to get performance out of this vacuum blender the same to that, you know, I think you might be dreaming. So the other thing, this is actually only a 500 watt model, right? And the watts could be a pro and a con. If you're running on a solar power system and you're living off the grid, 500 watts is probably a lot better than almost like 2,000, 1,800 watts over here that could like drain your batteries super quick. But for most people that have plug-in appliances in this day and age, you know, in my opinion, more power the better. Like power, man. Of course, another thing is the price, right? Although this machine is multitudes more powerful, as you heard in the motor power, it's actually only approximately, depends, 2 times the price of this unit right here. So, you know, for some people that's not a big problem, but for some people, like, you know, it's like, John, I just got to get a vacuum blender. I got to get an inexpensive one that's going to be pretty good to work for now. This would be good, but if you just like to make long-term investments, this is definitely going to be a better investment, and I'll tell you why. The main reason is the warranty, right? Although this is about half the cost of this guy, you basically get 3 times the warranty for home use with the Dynapro Commercial Vacuum Blender. This guy has a 15-year long warranty. This is an industry first that I'm aware of, and this is just not a 15-year warranty on the motor base like some companies out there. They'll give you a big long warranty on the motor base, but all the rest of the parts are short. Tribest gives you a full 15-year warranty on the entire unit, whether that's the carafe or whether that's the motor base. It's fully covered, so you're going to be guaranteed blending for the next 15 years if you order a brand new Dynapro blender. That being said, the personal glass vacuum blender has a 5-year warranty, which is actually quite impressive for a personal glass blender, because a lot of personal blenders might only have a 90-day or maybe even a 1-year warranty. This gives you a 5-year warranty. So that's actually quite impressive. So I mean, Tribest is there to stand behind their products. I actually had some people with some inquiries about some customer service issues with Tribest earlier this week, and Tribest takes care of all my customers. That being said, I cannot guarantee that Tribest will take care of you if you buy from another big box store, because I have a direct link with you know, some of the most important people at Tribest. So if one of my customers are not getting their situations handled, you know, through regular channels, let me know. I will intervene and make sure you're taken care of. And you know, that's one of the reasons why I want you guys to support me and make your purchase at Discount Juicers. Not only because I'm making these educational videos, and at this time I have over 500 different videos comparing juicers and blenders and teaching you guys about vacuum blenders, right? Because hopefully I've you know, taught you some things, and hopefully you feel like, man, that guy John, he helped me out a lot, man. He helped me pick the right juicer. I'm just going to go ahead and buy from him instead of going to some other big box store where I could save $5 or something, right? Because it really helps me out when you guys order from me. Seriously, it allows me to continue to make these videos, to do all the educational work I do, to teach you guys about how to eat more fruits and vegetables, how to grow them, and you know, why it's even important to eat them. And you know, other big stores and big box companies, they don't care about you. You're just another number. But to me, you're like family once you buy a juicer, right? Because, or a blender, because I want you guys to be successful in your health and improving your health, right? And that's the only reason why I got into all these equipments and appliances that I now sell, because I started using them because I had to turn my health around. So I know these can make a difference in your life, and I'm also here to answer any questions that you guys might have before and even after the sale, you know, when you purchase at Discount Juicers. I can't offer after sale service to people that purchase from other places, obviously. So I would encourage you guys to purchase from me, and I want to let you guys know that I do have a price match policy. So hopefully, you know, if you're one of the people that like, John, I can save $2 if I get it somewhere else. Hopefully you just spend $2 more to get it from me so I can continue this work I do. But if you feel the need to, you know, get that low price, you know, I'm glad to match other authorized retailers that sell the same exact product in stock, and their delivered price, right? So yeah, we'll just leave it at that. So I want to thank you guys in advance for those of you guys that do choose to purchase from me at discountjuicers.com, and I want to thank you guys who have purchased from me in the past, because you are literally the reason why I'm able to do what I love to do, you know, and make these videos and educate the people about juicers and blenders and all the appliances that allow you to get more fruits and vegetables in you so that you guys can be healthy. And I mean, I'm a living testament that the juicing and the vacuum blending totally works, and I want you guys to be successful at it too, because I mean, this information is not taught in schools, right? We're talking about like all these, in the regular world, it's just all about junk food and processed foods, and I want you guys to process your own foods, and that's why I like some of the appliances that I'm able to offer you, because you guys could process your own food, so you exactly know what's going into the food that you're eating. You know what's going into the juice. You know that when you use a vacuum blender, you're going to make the highest quality smoothie that you just can't even buy at a smoothie bar, because I haven't seen any smoothie bars yet be using the vacuum blenders. So hopefully if you're a smoothie bar or juice bar owner, you get these guys. Actually, there's a lady up in Seattle. She bought some from me. So hopefully that's going good for her. But anyways, let's go ahead and get back into this comparison. I got sidetracked. So some other differences between these two blenders here are how long the blender can be run. In the instruction manual, in the Tribest personal glass blender, they say recommended runtime is 30 seconds, which to me is actually a quite short runtime, right? So I think I've run it up to a minute at a time, but you know, this is a 2/3 horsepower 500 watt motor. It's not like super beefy. I mean, it should work to blend what you're blending, provided you're not blending like, you know, a lot of dry ingredients. This is made for personal blending of things like smoothies optimally, or things that are really watery. You know, I wouldn't try to use this machine to make a nut butter or anything like that, because it's just not quite that durable. The motor's not quite that powerful. But if you want to blend up some nuts with the water, you know, to make some nut milk and then strain it out, hey, that would be totally an appropriate use in my opinion. Over on this side, on the other hand, right, there's no, in my opinion, or from what I've read, predetermined length. You must run the machine. So like, you could press one of these buttons here, and every button press is 30 seconds. You could probably press it and go 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes if you had to run it on this. I think after a certain point, it's just silly to run it any longer, because at some point the blender has blended to the maximum blend potential of the blender. Oops, which is usually approximately, I think, I haven't usually had to run the blender more than like 2 to 3 minutes like maximum, and that's on something that's like really hardcore, like coconut water and mature coconut meat, to like blend up to make my coconut milk using the juicer. So yeah, no predetermined amount of time that you could run the blender. The other thing that's nice is that the Dynapro actually has pre-programmed cycles, right? So they have a standard blend cycle, a pulse cycle, and a combo cycle that you just basically press these buttons. It'll blend, vary the different you know, speeds that it's running to help suck things into the blender blades to get them blended up properly, and then it'll turn itself off so that you don't have to babysit your blender. Over on this guy, this is 100% manual operation. You just basically have like a volume control that you could turn up the speed higher or lower, but until you turn that dial to off, it's going to keep blending. So I do like that this is also, you know, computer controlled. Another feature I like that's actually quite innovative, that's actually an industry first, is actually the Tribest Dynapro has a temperature indicator built into the craft that I haven't seen this anywhere else. They use some kind of thermochromographic paint or something like that. I don't know if you guys could see that. But here there's actually like a little, you guys could see that on there. It's a blue little star under the Dynapro. So basically this little blue star measures the temperature, and if your temperature gets above like 118 degrees, the color on this star will change. So this can be important for some people that are into raw foods, or if you don't want to basically cause so much friction that it heats up your food so much that it might actually burn your tongue. Stop after that color changes. So that's definitely really cool. And of course the glass personal vacuum blender does not actually have that feature. I think the next thing, those are some of the major differences that I've kind of figured out and pointed out. Next, I want to talk about some of the similarities, right? Some of the similarities are, they actually both come with the same exact vacuum pump that actually, if you bought this separately, it would run you about $150. So it's definitely best to buy one of these blenders to get the vacuum pump, because this vacuum pump is pretty valuable aside from just using it with the blenders. Like I said, I use this with a mason jar attachment that I may show you guys in a little bit, to vacuum save my smoothies and soups and juices, right? And then the other thing, they both come with basically scoops, stainless steel scoops. These are probably the nicest stainless steel scoops that come with any blender I've seen. A lot of the stainless steel tamper things that you see are plastic. These are stainless steel, so you could actually use this to scoop things out. Or you could actually use this if you're not using the blending, the vacuum blending function to help push things in the blade to get them blended on up. So I do like that they share these two features. Now the other thing that's different is the carafe. So actually on this unit it has 100% glass carafe, and on the bottom of the carafe it's actually only stainless steel. So as long as your smoothie or whatever does not hit the top of the carafe, your smoothie or whatever you're blending never has to touch plastic. And I know this is something that's really important for you, some of you guys out there. In addition, so this carafe is like, I think, a 42 ounce here, and then you also get a 24 ounce personal blender container that is for use with non-vacuum blending. It's just used for regular blending. So that's 2 containers on that guy. And then over on the Dynapro, actually you only get 1 container. It is a BPA-free Eastman Triton copolymer, 65 ounces. And so, I mean, each have their pros and cons. If you don't mind plastic, I think definitely this guy holds more capacity. But if you got to have something with only glass, this is the only glass personal blender that's readily available in the USA at this time that actually I'm aware of. So yeah, that's pretty much the differences between those two. Some other differences are, of course, this guy is smaller. So if you're like traveling a lot, you want a small personal travel vacuum blender, this is probably the unit for you. As you guys can see, it takes up like a lot less space. And then over on this guy is a lot more huge, a lot more commercial, you know, good for probably sitting on your counter and probably not moving a lot, because it is a little bit larger than actually most other blenders out there. I think those are some of the major like differences between these two. I can't really think of too many more things that I'd like to share with you guys today. What I do want to get into next is actually comparing these two blenders, blending the exact same ingredients to see what the consistency of these blenders are when they're run for the exact same amount of time. So what I'd like to blend for you guys first is basically just a very simple recipe, just so that we could see the performance fairly clearly of these blenders. And I'm not basically pulling any punches on this one here. So what we got is we basically got like 500 milliliters of purified water in each of these pitchers, and then we have approximately 8 ounces of tree collared leaves, fresh picked from my garden, that are approximately the same age and approximately the same exact size, right? And on the tree collards, the leaves, you know, are kind of like thicker, like collard leaves, which is not too hard to blend up. But what's really going to be challenging for the blenders are the stalks here. You know, my tree collard trees literally are 6 feet tall, and these are nice thick stalks, almost like, I mean, like really hardcore stems on there. So that's going to be interesting because these are actually quite fibrous. So I'm interested to see how each of these blenders do. So I guess we're just going to get to blending here. So the thing is with vacuum blenders, right, when you go to lift off the lid, it's going to be vacuum locked on there because you don't understand, like, the vacuum lid doesn't allow air in and out. So on a standard blender, you can usually just lift the top off, but on these, they're just kind of stuck. So the trick is you got to actually hold the vacuum port open while you're lifting the lid off so that you can easily lift it off. And then we're going to go ahead and dump 500 milliliters of water in the Dynapro. Once again, we're going to lift this guy up and pop that top off there. And once again, 500 milliliters of water in the Tribest glass personal vacuum blender. Then we're going to go ahead and take our leaf. You know, I could just try to shove the whole leaf in there, but to make it an easier time, we're going to just go ahead and pop off pieces. These are actually pretty thick here, equidistant pieces. And you can see, like, look at the strings on that, man. It'll be interesting to see what the hell happens on here. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and take this guy and pop this into pieces here too. So here's the thing, like, I like this craft because it's smaller, so if you want to blend smaller amounts, it's going to be better because, you know, you could probably blend with as little as 8 ounces of water in here, but the problem is because this container is so wide and fat, you need probably a minimum amount of water for it to be able to blend good. I was making like a salad dressing the other night. Didn't have a lot of liquid in there, and I noticed that things just weren't really circulating too well, so actually I had to add more liquid so that I got a good and proper blend. So please be aware of this. Alright, so anyways, got that in there. We're going to go ahead and put the top on, and put the top on this guy. And the next step is to suck vacuum. So, you know, I want to let you guys know that Tribest now has the new model. It's the 1050A-B, and that's the only model we sell at discount juicers. Many retailers still do not have this newest model because they don't keep up to date with everything, and they probably have old inventory. So they have the original model that does not have the A, and the new thing with the A model is, check the link down below for my video on that. But basically you get the upgraded clear carafe with a new blade assembly that's even sharper than the previous one. And you also get the automatic vacuum pump. So make sure if you guys get the Dynapro, you get the A model instead of the old model that has a manual vacuum pump and a very, maybe not as powerful battery operated pump. This pump actually uses 8 AA batteries. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and put both pumps on top and hit the button. And let them suck out all the excess air out of both of these chambers. Now these automatic vacuum units basically are smart. They sense the amount of vacuum that's inside the carafe, and it'll turn itself off when it has reached the maximum vacuum pressure it can pull. Alright, so both these vacuums turned off. So what I like to do for fun is I'll go ahead and remove it, and then I'll press it back in and press the button one more time. And if it's done it right, you'll hear it come on for a second, and then it turns itself off because it sensed like, hey, I'm at maximum vacuum pressure, I can't suck anymore. And the same thing with this. We'll pull it off, we'll put it back on, and it's running a little bit more, so let's see if we got a full vacuum already on here. Alright, so I think we got maximum vacuum pressure on both carafes. Now we're just going to go ahead and remove these guys, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and turn this on high speed, turn this guy on high speed at the same time, and run them for the exact same amount of time. What we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and speed this up so you guys can see like the whole blending process, like fast forward, fast motion style. Alright? Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Alright, so I turned them off. I think we had a pretty good blend amount of time. I don't really time it or anything like that. What we're going to do next is we're going to send both the mixtures through a sieve that's the same exact size so we can see actually what is collected in each sieve. I think first we'll do the glass personal vacuum blender. So once again we're going to go ahead and pull this off and listen carefully. Oh man, didn't hold a vacuum this time for some reason. Wonder what that's about. Maybe you have a bad gasket or something in there. I'll have to look into that. Anyways, despite being not vacuum blended, we could still see the performance of this blender and how well it actually blended. Now do keep in mind that when you're vacuum blending, like it kind of expands the particles that you're blending, so it might blend actually a little bit better. But that's probably not going to be anything significant on here. So we got pretty much all that out. Oh man, there's a bunch of pulp here stuck in the bottom of the carafe. Alright, let's go ahead and check the Dynapro. Hopefully we have vacuum on this guy, listen. Yeah, we definitely had good vacuum on that one. And we're going to go ahead and pour this guy out. Alright, so we pretty much shook all this out, and now I want to show you guys the results actually. I mean, I can't say it really surprises me, but here, check it out. You guys can see that? Like basically, the Dynapro had maybe about half as much pulp than the glass personal blender. So that means like this blade is a lot sharper, it's more efficient, it broke down things into a smaller particle size so it actually let it go through the same exact sieve into the container in the bottom, whereas this one, the blender was not quite as efficient and wasn't able to basically grind things up into a finer particle size. So that's why we were left with definitely more fiber. So I mean, that's pretty much how it should be. Hopefully if you're buying a more expensive blender, you have better performance. The other thing that's interesting is the color difference, and I think that's mainly because this was under vacuum and this one wasn't. So yes, I think in this comparison, gotta give it to the Dynapro. Anyways, I want to go ahead and clean all this up and we're going to come back at you, and I'm going to do what I call a blended salad mixture next, where we're going to actually use fruits and vegetables and nuts and maybe some spices, and we're going to blend all that up to see which unit will perform better in that test. So now I'm all set up and ready for the last comparison for this episode. I'm doing what I call a blended salad, right? We all know salads are super good, super healthy for us, right? And we should all make salad the main dish. We should eat a salad with every single meal that we eat, whether you just want to eat a huge salad or a big salad, and then small portions of other things that may not quite be as healthy. In many cases, sometimes I get lazy and I don't want to make a salad, chop it all up, put in a bowl, make the dressing, and sit and eat it and chew your food into mush every mouthful. That's why we give babies baby food, because they don't have teeth to chew it. So actually, when I'm in a rush, when I gotta grab and go on my way to the airport, or sometimes when I just don't feel like eating for a while, I'll just basically put all the ingredients that I would normally put in a salad into the vacuum blender and then vacuum blend. This way I'm preserving the most amount of nutrients because I'm blending under vacuum, which is probably even superior to me chewing. That being said, even once you make a blended salad, you will want to put it in your mouth and simulate like you're chewing it up, because that gets some salivary amylase, some saliva mixed in, and gets your kind of body into that digestion mode. Very important. Don't just like blend it up and I'm going to glug it down. Yeah, okay, glugging down a blended salad is better than eating McDonald's, but you want to take your time and take some time to enjoy and let your body properly digest it. So that's what we're doing tonight, and I have two basically pie plates set up with equal amounts of items. And so very important when loading a blender is to load it with the wateriest items first. So in this case, the ingredients we have today in order that I'll be loading them are tomatoes, cucumbers, bell peppers. Then I think I'm probably going to go with the onion. Then I'm going to go with the greens. We got like a whole head of lettuce, some dill, and some arugula out of my garden, some collard greens, and then finally some macadamia nuts. And we got basically even amounts on each plate so we could see how these blenders perform doing the same exact task. I guess so with that, let's just go ahead and load the blenders up. So first we're going to go ahead and put the tomatoes in. Next the cucumbers. Oh, and then I did have a little bit of miso on top of the cucumbers. We'll throw that in there too. So basically when you blend up tomatoes and or cucumbers, they basically just turn into water. Or a liquid-filled, nutrition-rich water. And so we're going to push down some of the tomatoes there to try to get them to explode a little bit, because I think I'm going to run out of space here, filling everything up. Got the peppers in there, the onions, and let's go ahead and put these greens in there. So I'm going to just go ahead and tear the greens up so they're going to distribute easily in the blender. And I don't even know if this whole head of lettuce is going to fit here, so we're going to tear that up into pieces there. Alright, finally got the clove of garlic going in and the macadamia nuts. Alright, let's go ahead and load this side up. To spare you from the time, we'll go ahead and just speed this up. So you'll see me just loading this up. I'll be back at you literally in a second. Alright, that's all loaded up. Now it definitely was super simple, super easy to load up the Dynapro just because of the wider crab. You guys can see this is like almost loaded to the top. So I mean, if this is like for personal use, you have like one person or maybe like a couple in your family, not too many people, this might be good. But if you're doing big volumes and want to share the wealth of fruits and vegetables with your whole family so your whole family can get healthier, that's why you definitely want to go with the Dynapro. It's got a nice large size carafe. Now, got the secret ingredient right here. This is actually my homemade kimchi with garden fresh vegetables that I make and ferment here. Smells so good. And so we're just going to go ahead and put a scoop of the kimchi in each of the blenders. And basically what this does is just adds a nice umami kind of flavor in there. And also some beneficial probiotics. Alright, so this one's getting a little bit full. Might be a little bit hard to put the lid on there even. Alright, next let's go ahead and get these vacuumed on up. Alright, first we'll put the lid on the Dynapro and put our vacuum on the top. And when I put the vacuum on, I like to basically push it down while I push the button and make sure it's making a good seal around the base. Once it starts, then I'll gently try to lift it up and it doesn't come up easily. That means there's a good suction and it's sucking all the excess oxygen out of the carafe. Once again, on the Tribest glass personal blender, we're going to go ahead and put the lid on. And I think I did determine that something was a bit loose earlier, so I tightened this up, made sure it was sealing properly, resealed the top, and cranked that down. I think we're going to be able to hold the vacuum much better now. And I'll show you guys how you can test and know. So once again, we're at the point where we're sucking a vacuum out of both blenders. This, depending on what's in the blender, can take up to maybe a minute and a half or so. If you have like a lot of liquid in there and very little airspace, it's going to take less time. But in this case, you know, we have lots of airspace in between the produce we put in, so it's going to take a little bit of time. So we'll come back at you when the vacuum has pumped out all the excess oxygen in each carafe. Alright, so both vacuums have shut off, and I want to show you guys actually how to check to make sure you have sufficient vacuum and that there are no leaks in either of these vacuum blenders, because if there's a leak, then you don't have a good vacuum seal, and then you might as well just not even use a vacuum blender because you're just blending in standard atmospheric air like regular blenders do. So once the unit stops, you're just going to go ahead and put it back on and press it and listen real quick. It should just come on for a second. It's sensing that there's enough vacuum in there, so it shuts off. Then you know that it's like totally vacuumed. And we're going to go ahead and try on this side again. Once again, we turned it on. It went on for a second, turned itself off. We could go ahead and double check again. See how it just ran and then turned off. So I will say that I have had some challenges with losing some vacuum on the glass personal vacuum blender. And I believe, in my opinion, that's due to the gasket here. So if you don't have it properly centered and just right, you may not be able to pull sufficient vacuum, and it may not hold vacuum. So if that happens to you, you might have to reposition this a little bit. You know, I think that the manufacturer should go and maybe make a little bit bigger gasket to fill some of the extra space, because I think it might be a little bit too small. You know, I haven't used the glass personal blender so much, but I have used the Dynapro a lot, and I rarely have any issues with it holding a vacuum. That being said, when you're cleaning any vacuum blender, make sure the seals on the top are totally free and clear of debris, and they're totally dry before vacuuming. If there's any little like particles of anything, that could you know, disturb the unit from keeping a good vacuum. Also, I do like to say that both machines come with a few extra gaskets. You know, if you you know, fix a problem if you do get a bad gasket. But I've been using mine for a while. I haven't seen the gaskets wear out. All right. So in any case, once we got them under vacuum, now we're just going to go ahead and crank these on high. This guy just turn up to high, and this guy just press the button, because let's see, that's low and that's all the way high. So we'll just go ahead and turn it on, and we'll play this fast forward style so you guys can see what happens. Alright, so as you guys can see, we're off to a little bit of a rough start with the Tribest glass personal blender, right? Blending blended salad can be a difficult task, right? And that's why I recommend the personal glass blender for like smoothies that are like, you're adding like a liquid component, whether that's water or coconut water to blend up a smoothie. In this case, although I had a lot of liquid stuff in there, because the carafe is so narrow and tall, things that didn't really drop down that easily. Now, if I would have pre-cut everything super small, packed it in, it probably would have worked great. But, you know, this is just a little bit of a caveat. I had a hard time kind of like getting things into the blender, so I was kind of like moving it and tipping it and all this kind of stuff, which probably is not really recommended from the manufacturer. Although I got to get my blender to work, because if it's under vacuum, you cannot like take it apart to shove stuff down, otherwise you got to like re-vacuum your carafe. Meanwhile, on the other hand, look at this. The Dynapro kicked royal you know what. I mean, it turned it literally into like a liquid, And over here you can see there's still some chunks. So actually let's find out what each blender did, right? I do want to say that I ran this actually 2 exact cycles from the Dynapro, however long the default programming is to run. I forget if that's like 2 minutes, so maybe it's 2 minutes and 2 minutes, so it's 4 minutes total. This one was totally, could have been done after 1 session, but to keep it fair, you know, this one was totally nowhere near done, so I ran this 2 sessions, and then that ran the same 2 sessions as well. So number 1, let's make sure we got a vacuum on here. We'll lift this little lid off. All right, still had good vacuum on here. I like how literally this plastic top will sink in under the vacuum, so when you lift it up, you can kind of see it flex back up there. And my blended salad is truly a blended salad. You do not see any particulate of anything left in there. And then over here on the glass personal blender, if you guys can see the difference on that, look at that, right? This one, there's a lot of pieces left. I see like pieces of tomatoes in there that didn't get blended. Hopefully it's still under vacuum. Yes, we still had a vacuum on that, so that's definitely really good. But yeah, we have a big difference in the consistency, right? I mean, I think easily it's worth spending twice as much money to get a much better blend, because here's the thing, right? When you blend something up, and the smaller the particle size, the easier your body has to basically extract the nutrients from the food you're eating. That's why we're supposed to chew our food into mush, right? That's why I like the juicers, because literally the juicers turn the fruits and vegetables into a liquid that our bodies could easily assimilate. And while this does, in this case, almost turn it into a liquid, it also keeps all the fiber, whereas a juicer would keep only part of the fiber. It would keep the soluble fiber that dissolves in water. In this case, we're keeping all the insoluble fiber as well. Anyways, let's go ahead and pour this through, once again, the same sieve we used in the previous test. Now this is pretty thick. I don't know if this is actually going to, you know, easily go through the sieve. I wanted something with a little bit larger hole size, but I didn't really have anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sit here, because it's going to take a while, and try to like basically shake this down through each sieve. Alright, I think I'm about done shaking this one off, and as you guys can see, no surprise, I got you know, lots of stuff that actually didn't go through a sieve there. Tastes good. Let's go ahead and try the Dynapro here. Wow, this is super impressive, man. This is super fine. I don't know if there's anything even going to be left in the sieve. I mean, we did run this for 2 cycles, which I believe is like maybe 4 minutes. I think this even like rivals like the Vitamix. But make sure, once again, you get the new Dynapro, the DSP1050A, and that has a new upgraded blade design with a clear carafe. If you're seeing pictures for units with the blue tinted carafe, that's the old unit, doesn't have the good blade, and you will not get these results, because I definitely didn't get these results when I had the old carafe with the old blade. But this new carafe and the new blade, it's amazing. Alright, so let's go ahead and shake this down. Look at that. Oh my god. We shook that down, and there's like basically nothing left in that sieve. And look at this on this side, right? We got all the particulate left. So how do I talk about this? Basically, I'm going to say that, you know, the Tribest glass personal blender, it's great that it's a vacuum blender, right? And it's great if you want to just, you know, do a smoothie in the morning, take it to work, use blueberries in your smoothie. It's going to do great, right? But for harder tasks, such as like a blended salad, maybe even like blended soups that are pretty thick, or you know, salad dressings, it would not be my recommendation for you to get this guy. I mean, it's great for what it is. If you're going to travel, got to make a smoothie in the morning, hey, great. I'm glad that it's a vacuum blender. I'm glad that it's easy to travel with and small. But as you guys saw and learned, the Dynapro is just the pro way to go, literally. It's a commercial unit. It's got amazing performance. I mean, it costs about approximately double, has 3 times the warranty, significantly more power, over 3 times the wattage. I mean, it's just a much better machine. So unless you have to have like the glass carafe, or you have to have it small, I'd say, you know, make it in the Dynapro and then vacuum save it. So actually I want to share with you guys before I go how I vacuum save my blended salads if I need to save it for tomorrow, although this is my dinner tonight that I'm going to eat momentarily. Alright, now I want to show you guys actually how to vacuum save your food, whether that's a smoothie, a blended salad, or whatever you create in the Dynapro or the personal glass vacuum blender, or even if it's your fresh juices, if you have the amazing Tribest vacuum pump, right? So you're going to need a few common items. We have just a standard mason jar right here. We're going to go ahead and pour our blended salad, really nice consistency, nice and fine on that. Just going to pour it up and make sure if you're doing this right, you never fill it past the shoulder. That's good actually. If you fill it past the shoulder, then you're going to get basically the liquid coming back up through the top. Not a good thing. This is about a good place to fill it to. Then you're just going to need the standard mason jar top that actually comes with the mason jars when you buy them by the case. I recommend buying them by the case. They're a lot cheaper than buying them by the each. Put that right on the top, right? Then what you're going to get is you're going to get this attachment, and it's actually made by the Food Saver company, meant to use with their Food Saver device. But here's the secret. They don't want you to know. You don't need to buy their Food Saver device to use their vacuum lid top, right? So buy the top. It's about $10 to $15 depending on where you buy it. You're going to put it on the top of the jar, put it all the way down, make sure it's fully seated. Then you're going to take your amazing Tribest vacuum pump and make sure the center O-ring here is basically centered right on top, and you're going to press the button and push down. And if you listen very carefully, you might hear the metal top flex, right? And then basically it sucks out the air, which in this case it didn't have to suck out that much air, and it turned itself off. Once again, I like to double check this. I like to break the seal, so listen carefully. You hear that? I put it back on. Now I press the button again. Did you hear that? You heard the pop flex a little bit, and then you heard it turn off because it sensed that it has maximum vacuum pressure on the jar. And then we're going to go ahead and take this off, and now when we take this off, this top is literally stuck down. I mean, if you try to pull it up, it doesn't pull up easy. We could turn this upside down. It's stuck in there through vacuum. So yeah, you could put the metal ring on there, but you don't really need that because it's stuck down so hard that, I have friends that they can't lift this up. You got to literally get your fingernails underneath there and lift it up. Listen. And it pulls the vacuum out, right? So if you vacuum save like your blended salad like this, I would store this easily in the fridge. I like to eat things as soon as possible after they're made for best results. But hey, if I stored it like this, I wouldn't have any problem storing it for a day, maybe 2, maybe even 3 at the most. And I feel that it's still going to keep a high level of nutrition. That being said, I want you guys to make each meal right before you eat it and not store your food. But of course, a 3-day-old blended vacuum blended salad is better than basically most anything else you guys could eat aside from a fresh one or, a fresh juice or something like that. So I always want to encourage you guys to do good, better, best. And if you guys are looking for the best, Tribest vacuum blender. Anyways, in this case, what did we learn today? We learned that the Dynapro is definitely the way to go. It's definitely worth the upgrade. And yeah, blend it in the plastic and then put it in glass to store or to take with you to work or whatever. And once again, the other thing you want to do when storing it under vacuum is you want to keep it cold. So all my vacuum saved juices and smoothies and salad dressings go in my fridge. That's just a tad above 32 degrees. So it's like running at 34 degrees. So I can keep things cold and under vacuum so they store the freshest and longest amount of time. That's pretty much it for this episode. I guess the last thing I always like to do is declare a winner. And you guys clearly saw the winner in this case. It's the Dynapro vacuum blender. Once again, get the DSP1050A-B. The A means it's the new model with the clear carafe, upgraded blade, and of course the kick butt automatic vacuum pump. If you get the one without the -A, you're going to get the old unit, which I don't recommend. Then you're going to have to actually buy the vacuum pump extra. That's going to cost you extra money, which is definitely, it's cheaper just to buy the right unit in the first place. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this episode. I hope to do further vacuum blender comparison tests in the future once I get new and different units to try. So make sure you click that subscribe button down below so you get notified when I am able to do upcoming vacuum blender comparison tests. Also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below. Also be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge comparing all the different major brand blenders, dehydrators, even vacuum blenders, and demonstrating them for you guys so you guys could learn how you guys could get more fresh fruits and vegetables in you, which are the best foods on the planet. And if you guys enjoyed this video, I would encourage you guys to support me in my work by making your purchase at discountjuicers.com. This allows me to continue to make these educational videos, make messes, have fun, and make my dinner at the same time. So I could put food not only on my table, but in my tummy, alright? So I appreciate your guys' support. And finally, be sure to share this video with somebody else that wants to learn about the vacuum blending technology. That's totally new technology that unfortunately most people still are not aware of. And with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors.